Some games on the Nintendo Entertainment System are just totally addicting. You see a screenshot on the internet and you just need to play it at that exact moment. So here are 30 Nintendo Entertainment System games that I find incredibly addicting, starting with Base Wars. Yeah! Why do I like this game so much? Maybe it's the fast action, the large characters, and the fun gameplay. Sure, RBI Baseball for the NES is the gold standard, but does it have super cool robots beating each other up? I don't think so. Aside from that, the controls are fantastic and just make sense. When you throw the ball, it doesn't take 10 minutes for it to arrive. Thank you for respecting my time, Base Wars. Battletoads. So what happens when the Ninja Turtle craze reaches its zenith? You get lousy games like Cheetah-Men, but also amazing games like Battletoads. This is an incredible game with 12 different stages, all with fantastic graphics. I've always wondered, where did they get the memory for all this? This game is not that big. I've never come close to beating it, but I always find myself coming back to play it again and again. Mostly just the first couple of stages, because the later stages are extremely hard. BurgerTime. You know, it seems like I talk about this game a lot, but, you know, who cares? It's a great game on the NES. I like the challenge of avoiding the enemy's erratic behavior. Sometimes I can fool them into going a different way, which gives me a chance to build that burger. Plus, smashing them under the buns is so incredibly satisfying. Even more so than a Five Guys burger. Castlevania. Another game that I've never even come close to beating, but, you know, that doesn't really matter. The addiction factor is still high because whipping those enemies is just so much fun. And also listening to the music is like jamming out to your favorite 80s tune. Not to mention how very cool these spooky and detailed graphics are. One of these days I'm actually going to beat this one, I promise. Contra. There are few game genres that I enjoy more than the run and gun. You know, sometimes I'll get a Contra craving and I just have to play it. And yes, without the code. Beating the game is totally possible once you memorize all the enemy locations. Destroying Red Falcon just never gets old. One of these days I'm going to beat it on one life like I did Super C. Double Dragon. My other favorite genre of video game is the beat 'em up. It's just so satisfying to punch and kick your enemies in this game. Plus there's a few fun tricks that you can do as well. Sure, this game is certainly not arcade perfect, but that doesn't mean it's not a lot of fun to play. As is the sequel, Double Dragon 2: The Revenge. It's more of the same beat-em-up action, but I like this one too. It's got more moves and better fighting than the original. It's also way more tough. I've never come close to beating it thanks to some tricky jumping in the later stages, but the overall package has me returning to it from time to time to give it a shot. And actually, I was able to beat it with Game Genie, but you know, that doesn't count. Duck Hunt. Come on, when you think of light gun games, this is the very first one you think of, isn't it? Such a simple game, but very addictive. The 3 variations keep me coming back for more, and I really like the duck blasting action, but skeet shooting is also great fun to play. And yes, I've tried to shoot the dog too. You actually can in the arcade version. If only we can get that version on the NES. Elevator action. What is it about this game that just keeps me coming back? Shooting the enemy agents? Check. Controlling multiple elevators? Check. Stealing the corporate plans? Check. Blasting the light fixture and hiding in the dark? Check. Attempting to crush enemies with the elevator? Check. This is just a really fun game for the NES, and I will play it every chance I get. Galaga. Everyone loves this game, and I mean everyone. When I got my arcade 1-up, my wife's first question was, does it play Galaga? I think I know why we keep coming back to this game. It's because we want to get back at that alien ship who stole our ship and then getting that double power-up as a reward. That feeling of near invincibility is amazing, even if it only lasts for a few moments. Gauntlet. This one is addicting for the same reason that Asteroids is. There's just this primal urge to want to clean everything up in a game. It's the same thing when it comes to collecting treasures and power-ups. You just feel great satisfaction when you get one because it's that reward for playing the game. Plus, you know, exploring dungeons is fun. Guerrilla War. I wish I had discovered this top-down run-and-gun sooner. I love how fast the game plays, and the variety of graphics keep me wanting to see the next stage. What's cool is that many objects in the game are destructible. Oh, and look how many different objects are on the screen at once. This is incredible. I think I come back to this one a lot because I find it really easy, and, you know, I like easy games. Gun-nac. This one is the total package when it comes to space shooters. Fast gameplay, tons of enemies, great graphics, and amazing music. Not to mention the crazy amount of weapons. You can really get powered up for that feeling of invincibility. And look at the number of sprites on the screen. I can't think of another shooter that throws this much at the player all at once and is still incredibly fun. I'm looking at you, Silver Surfer. Ugh. Gyruss. Don't get me wrong, I love the original arcade game, but the NES version takes that original concept and just adds to it with boss battles and a special weapon. What makes this one so very addictive to me is the fun gameplay and amazing music. The controls are just so perfectly implemented too. It's so fun getting that double shot and wiping out the enemies. And now, off to Uranus. Heavy Barrel. Back in the late 80s, this is one of those games that my friends and I would play every time we went to the arcade. It's a top-down run-and-gun, sure, but it's also a collect-a-thon. Opening the boxes to see what weapons you get kept the game interesting and fun. Plus, the quest for the heavy barrel itself made me want to play it again and again. The NES game is just as much fun, and possibly more so because it doesn't require quarters. Lifeforce. What I love about this space shooter is the setting. It seems like you're attacking some giant creature in space. Well, at least the first stage anyway. Later stages are also quite interesting as you fly too close to a star avoiding solar flares. Fly too close to an asteroid, I guess. Defeat Space King Tut. And then finally destroy the planet boss. Lots of great weapons and settings make this a very addicting game. Magic Darts. This one actually taught me how to play darts. So in the basic game, your goal is to reach a certain point value, 301 for example. Whoever gets to that value without going over first wins. There's also a game called Around the Clock where you aim for the 1 through 10 on the board and count up and half it, which I have no idea what I'm doing. There are several different characters to choose from as well, including monkeys, ninjas, robots, and aliens. Oh yeah, and there's some people in it too. The aiming is spot on and intuitive, making this game very enjoyable. Mario Brothers. This game has a quality that's just really hard to describe. Is it the game mechanic of hitting the enemies from below before knocking them off? Or maybe it's the satisfaction of ridding the sewer from critters, I'm not really sure. All I know is that when I start playing this game, I just don't want to stop. Mike Tyson's Punch-Out! No, I've never beaten Tyson. The closest I've ever got was knocking him down, but I wasn't able to beat him. I do enjoy battling the other boxers because I know they can be beaten if I can just remember the patterns. Also, I like to see how quick I can knock them down, and I really enjoy punching them over and over on repeat. Take that, Honda. It's so satisfying to finally knock down that boxer you've been having trouble with for years. Take that. Ms. Pac-Man. Sure, the original Pac-Man game is a classic, but the single screen can get a little bit boring. But Ms. Pac-Man is a vastly improved game with more mazes and fruit. The Tengen version also has some options to ramp up the fun, like speed boosters and different mazes. But you'll want to avoid the Namco version because it does not include any of these awesome features that the Tengen version does. Like some of the other games on this list, clearing off the board fulfills that need to, well, clean up the screen. Pinbot. Aside from the Crush games on the TurboGrafx 16, this is by far the best pinball game for any 8 or 16-bit system. I can't wait to hear the debate on this one. I love the incredibly detailed graphics and beautiful music. Hitting that board at the top of the screen is very satisfying, especially when you get the multi-ball out of it. But what sets this one above the original pinball machine is how you can warp to different levels that have monsters and spaceships to avoid. This one is just so good and so addicting. I love it. Pro Wrestling. This is the only wrestling game that I've ever truly enjoyed. I don't know, maybe because it's so basic, much like myself. You at least get to choose from multiple wrestlers, each with their own easy-to-perform special moves. You can dive bomb your opponent, throw them against the ropes, or toss them out of the ring. It's your choice. My favorite character has always been the Amazon because of his illegal moves. What? I didn't do anything. S.C.A.T, Special Cybernetic Attack Team. Boy, that's a really unfortunate title for a game, isn't it? But I don't care, I love this setting in this side-scrolling shooter, and it reminds me a bit of Forgotten Worlds. You can rotate the option orbs to shoot in different directions, and trust me, you're going to need that because the enemies are coming at you from all different directions. I love the graphics, sounds, and music here. I originally thought I stunk at this game like pretty much every other game, but then I realized that this game is NES hard. In order to show you guys some of the awesome stages later, I had to use the Game Genie. But even without Game Genie and that incredible difficulty, this game has a quality that just keeps me coming back for more. Side pocket. You know, I've always wanted a pool table, but I could never afford one. Not to mention the fact that I don't have enough room in the game room. So renting Side Pocket in the late 80s was the next best thing. It features a single-player style of pool where you try to sink the balls in certain pockets rather than your typical 8 or 9 ball games. Each time you miss, your shot meter decreases, and once that's gone, your game is over. The music, gameplay, and the physics make this a very enjoyable game. Super C. Contra again? Sure, why not? This might very well be the game that I come back to more than any other on the NES. Partially because I didn't waste any time and I bought it brand new back in the day. I remember seeing it featured in EGM magazine and they wrote about how it had this advanced MMC chip. And that cool new technology was enough to get me interested, but the game itself also looked like Contra times 10. This one pretty much blows every other Contra game before or since out of the water. Super Dodgeball. Oh yeah, this game is just so addicting to me. I absolutely love how you can do a super attack called a break and knock out your opponents. Sam is definitely the best character for this, but Bill is also pretty good. What's also great is the animation of the characters when they're delirious. That always cracks me up. This game is a blast to play, and I just keep coming back to it over and over. I play through it just about once a month. Super Mario Bros. Maybe the most addicting side-scrolling platformer ever. I keep coming back to this rather simple game because it plays great, has a ton of secrets, and lots of clever stage designs. I like how the stages start off easy so the player can get used to the gameplay, but then it gets more challenging as you progress. I also like the variety of the enemies, which keep you on your toes. The jumping and controls are absolutely perfectly executed, making you feel as though I'm right there in the game as Mario. And nothing is more satisfying than dropping Bowser into that hot lava. Take that! Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, the arcade game. This game totally feeds that beat-em-up addiction nicely. Also, you get to play as a ninja, a teenage ninja turtle. Yeah, that's it. What I love about this one is seeing all the cool details on the various stages. Also, there's a certain anxiety I get when I play this game, though, because I know that I have to do fantastic early on if I'm going to beat Krang and Shredder later in the game. You just can't lose any lives to those wimpy foot soldiers. It can get a little monotonous at times, but it's great fun, especially two-player. Tetris. In my opinion, this is the greatest video game of all time. And if nothing else, it's certainly the greatest puzzle game of all time. What makes it great is the simplicity. It's easy to learn, but difficult to master. You know the drill. Just drop the pieces down to make the lines. It's so easy, even your grandma can do it. Getting those 4 lines to disappear is one heck of a dopamine hit, though. Video game addiction at its finest. Willow. I am in no way an RPG fan, but here's one that I just loved. I remember renting it from the local video store and just beating it all in one week. This one was more interesting than other RPGs because of the sword-swinging action, you know, just like the movie. Oh, and check out these incredible graphics. They're way more detailed than Zelda or Dragon Warrior. Aside from that, it's your standard RPG style game with different weapons, armor, and skills. My favorite is the acorns that will turn enemies into stone. Again, just like the movie. Alright, well there you go, 30 Nintendo Entertainment System games that I find incredibly addictive. What games do you find incredibly addictive on this system? Please let me know down in the comments. Until then, I want to thank you for watching, take care, and we'll see you next time. Bye bye everyone.